All right, hello class. Tonight's homework is the practice side only of 2-2, which is rounding whole numbers. Now you did a little bit of rounding yesterday, and we did a lot of practice with this today in class. So real quickly, I just want to remind you of the rounding rules that we talked about in class. Okay, if we have a number like, well, let me go back to the number 1 here. We'll do number 1 together. So number 1 is 16,326. So I'm going to use that number 16,326 to help us solve the first problem. So if we look at that problem, it says here, oops, wrong way, sorry about that. It says here that we're going to round each number. We're going to round each number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 to the nearest tens place. So if I go back here, these are our steps we're going to follow. First, we need to mark the space. So we said the nearest tens place, ones, tens. We're going to mark it. Okay, we're rounding to the nearest tens place. So we mark the space, then we look to the right. So we look to the right. Okay. Now, the way that I explain this in class, boys and girls, the only number that we're changing here at the beginning is the number that we marked. When we look to the right, we're not looking to the right to change this number here. We're looking to the right because this number is going to guide us on how we're going to change the number we marked. So this number in the tens place is the number that's changing, but the number next to it is the one that's going to tell us what to do with the number that we marked in the tens place. Okay? It's kind of like when you're driving your car. When you're driving your car, you use your foot to push the gas and to push the brake. Okay? But when you get to a stoplight, whether that light's green or red is going to decide whether or not you push the gas or the brake. Now, you don't get out of the car and change that light. The light's going to tell you one way or the other. You can only put your foot on the gas or put your foot on the brake. You can't get out of the car and go change the light bulb. Okay? So consider the place that you're marking to be your foot and the place to the right to be the light bulb. You're not changing this number, you're just changing the place you marked. So, we mark the space, we look to the right, 4 or less, that number is going to stay and rest. So we mark the space, here's a 2, we looked to the right, in the right we have a 6. Now when it says 4 or less, that means if we wrote all the numbers out, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, if that number right here is 4 or less, it's going to stay and rest. So here we go. 4 or less means that it's going to have a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1, or 0. That's 4 or less. And since this is not 4 or less, that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to stay and rest. If it's 5 or more, so if it is 5 or more, so 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then we go up a floor. So think of it as a building, okay? And if you go up one floor, that means you're just adding one number. So if this is a building and we're on the second floor, to go up a floor means we move up to the third floor. So there we go. In those empty right-hand spaces, zeros keep the proper places. So we've got our 3. And in the empty right-hand space, right here, there's a space. We're going to put a 0. Okay? Anything that's to the left of that number, you just keep there. So this is the correct answer for number 1. 16,330. So when you go back to your sheet here, it was 16,330. Okay? So we're going to do this number 2 the exact same way. We're going to mark the space, look to the right. Let me zoom there, that might be a little easier to see. We mark the space, we look to the right, 4 or less, remember that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we look to the right, it's not 4 or less, it is 5 or more. That means it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So we move up a floor. So that means this number in the tens place goes up to a 3. In those empty right-hand spaces, zeros keep the proper places. So this number is 412,830 when it's rounded to the nearest 10.